When most people think of tequila, they think of shots, lime, salt, and regret. But I have 3 different types of tequilas to show you just how nuanced that liquor can be. Let's check them out. Hey guys, and welcome to Gabe's Liquor Cabinet. As you guys know, I love creating cocktails inspired by history, and as a result, I have obtained many different liquor bottles throughout my time trying to craft great cocktails based on history, and I wanted to take you through all of my collection. So today we are comparing different tequilas, and I have 3 different unique tequilas, all at different stages in the tequila making process. So let's get into them. Right now we have an añejo, which is tequila añejo, Regalo de Dios, that I actually have purchased in Mexico. This comes from Jalisco. As with all things that come from tequila, if it's not made in the state of Jalisco, it cannot necessarily be called tequila. It can be called an agavecito, I believe, or something along those lines where it's like, all right, it's a liquor that's been made from agave, from blue agave, like all tequila is, but it wasn't made in Jalisco, so therefore we cannot necessarily call it tequila, because that's where the town of Tequila is located, is in the state of Jalisco. Doesn't stop people from lying to you. The second one we have is the ever so famous bottle of CLASE AZUL. Now this is the Reposado tequila. So it's aged similarly to the añejo, but not nearly as long. And then the last one is our Blanco, or our Joven, which is Jose Cuervo Tradicional Cristalino. So it is, it says it's actually a Reposado, but it doesn't look like it's been aged too long. It's still a fairly clear liquor. So I would say that it hasn't been aged really, really long as compared to other tequilas. And you guys will see when I show you all the colors. So let's get into it. Our first one that we're going to get into is the Jose Cuervo Tradicional. I hope I said that right. Yes, I did. So Jose Cuervo is actually one of my favorite tequilas to use, usually on the channel. I've used it in the Eat Your Heart Out, and I've used it in the Berlin Baller. Usually when it calls for tequila, I really like Jose Cuervo. I think it just has a pretty clean flavor. Now, there have been suggestions by some people in the tequila drinking community that they cut their tequila. I don't know. All I know is that the Tradicional definitely is as tequila as it gets. Smells deeply of that blue agave, which is the base plant. It looks a lot like aloe. If you guys have never seen a blue agave plant, it looks a lot like an aloe plant. So it's a succulent type of plant with thick leaves, and it has juice and a gel inside. And they make the tequila from the base of the plant. So the base of that is then crushed up and I think roasted, and then from the sugars, that's where the highest sugar content is, then they will distill the tequila from that, and it will give us all the alcohol content. Now, with this particular one, this is 40% alcohol by volume. This one also comes from Jalisco, Mexico. This is particularly made there, so it is absolutely a tequila. Like I said, right off the bat, you smell the blue agave. It's fairly subtle though. Doesn't smell too sweet. Now this one claims to be a Reposado, so most of the time with Jovens, they're aged the least amount of time, maybe just a couple months to maybe 6 months at the very most. With Reposados, they're usually aged about a year, and then with Añejos, they're aged even longer, and they're usually aged in oak barrels, similar to whiskeys, and they're sipping tequilas, and we'll get into that once we get to this one here. So let's try the Jose Cuervo Tradicional. I love tequila. One of the reasons I love tequila is that it is subtly sweet, so easy to shoot, can be very dangerous because it's a high alcohol content. You know, you're working with 40% alcohol. This one is incredibly smooth. The Tradicional really does a great job. And the regular Jose Cuervo will do the same thing. Very smooth, very little burn on the front of the tongue to the back of the tongue, a little bit of numminess on the sides of the tongue, but not that much. Almost no burn going down. Very subtle, sweet flavor of that blue agave, a little bittersweet at the end. It's one of the things that I think is indicative of tequila, is that there's a bittersweet taste. That's just part of what the blue agave tastes like, especially when it's been fermented and then distilled. And This really holds true to all of that, but it's not overpowering anyway. It's not disgusting. I don't really need a lime or a salt to be able to down this. I could take a shot of this straight up very easily. Very well balanced, tasty tequila. I think this would do great in any margarita if you wanted. I think it would also do really, really well in any Long Island that you wanted. And if you wanted it to take perhaps a larger roll, then maybe make a little bit more of a heavy-handed tequila sunrise where there's not as much juice to overpower the tequila flavor, because this is actually very pleasant. So if you like the taste of tequila, this is a fantastic tequila to go with, and easily mixable in any of your cocktails, and one that I would certainly think of. The next bottle that we're going to get into is the ever so famous CLASE AZUL. Why? Because it has a bell on the top, and that's so cool to me. What an ingenious way of not only branding and marketing, but also to make a really memorable bottle. This bottle itself is very valuable to people because of that feature, the fact that it has a bell. And what's cool about it is that if you actually take it off, it's just a corked top, but because this is metal and this is ceramic, you know, once it hits, it has all of the components necessary. I'm not an auditory genius by any way or know exactly all the mechanisms that make this sound so perfectly like a bell, but it is designed perfectly to sound like a bell. Again, the bottle is beautiful. They have great painting on it. I've seen several plateware and dishware when I went to Mexico. I visited Mexico in the past, and this is normally what you would see if you were in a souvenir shop or sometimes at a local market, depends on where you are. Beautiful bottle overall. Definitely see why people like it so much. But this is reposado tequila, so that means that it's been aged around 6 months to a year. So it's going to have a little bit of a color because they are aged in barrels usually. Smells brilliant. Let's see what the color looks like. Yeah, as you can see, perhaps a little bit more difficultly than I can see, but this one is certainly darker and has more of a golden color than the Jose Cuervo. So a beautiful color there. A little bit too much for me, but I think we'll be fine. After all, we're having a great time here at Gabe's Liquor Cabinet. So off the nose, more of an agave flavor, just from what I can smell. A little bit sweeter, not as bitter to the nose. So I imagine that when I taste it, it's not going to have that much of a bitter aftertaste as, let's say, the Jose Cuervo in this sense. So let's see if the tequila itself matches the beautiful hype that is the bottle. So let's give it a taste. Wonderfully smooth, wonderfully smooth. A little bit of tingliness, where most of the tingliness takes place. Front of the tongue, right at the tip, to the sides. As it goes back, no burn going down, absolutely no burn. I'm feeling very little warmth going down into the chest, maybe a slight tinge of it. Very smooth tequila. This is easily sippable. I could have that on the rocks all day. You could shoot that if you wanted to. For the price point, I can understand why it's so popular. That is the easiest tequila to drink I think I've ever had. It is fantastic. Very subtle blue agave flavor, actually. Not nearly as bold as the Jose Cuervo, but at the same time, too, very easy to drink. And I think for people who are getting into tequila, but you want to feel a little bougie, this is a great bottle to go with because it's not that bad, you know? It's not that bad of a drinking experience. You definitely don't need a lime or salt for this one. If you're going to take a shot, you know, with some cheaper tequilas, you may, you know, just to deal with some of the bitter aftertaste that's, you know, more indicative of blue agave and tequilas in general, but this one does really, really well. And I quite like it. There is, as I was talking, a little bit more of a burn too. So around 30 seconds, 45 seconds after you've had the shot, you may actually feel a burn right in the lower part of your chest. So just consider that too, but very delayed and not overbearing in any way. The last tequila that we're going to get into is Regalo de Dios. So when I was in Mexico, one of the times I was in Mexico, this was, I was in Cozumel, you know, the tourist capital of the United States. That's not the Bahamas. But I actually was able to do a tequila tasting, and they had this particular tequila on the flight, and I really liked it. This is añejo, so this has been aged, I believe, 10 to 20 years. Usually añejos can be aged like whiskeys. They're aged in oak barrels, usually used oak barrels. They're not new oak barrels that would be consistent with bourbons, or other used oak barrels that would be consistent with, let's say, scotches, but it is definitely in a used oak barrel, and so it gives it a little bit more character, and this is what's considered to be sipping tequila. I really like this particular tequila. This fetched me around $100 for the bottle, which isn't obscene for really good añejos. So one thing to consider, if you're buying a really good añejo, it's going to fetch you a higher price. Mind you, this bottle is about, usually around $150 for reposado, and then this bottle can be around $40 to $50. So it depends on which liquor store that you go to get the tequila. Tequila is very popular, which is one of the reasons why the prices are so high, but it's popular for a reason. There's a beautiful golden amber color, deeper than any of the others that we've seen because of that aging process. And it has all of the character of a whiskey. I can smell the wood. I can smell the added sugars that have come with that longer time of aging, and less of the bitterness that comes with some of the agave, which is really wonderful. Having this over the rocks is a wonderful experience. Another thing that you can do is you could take this bottle, throw it into the freezer, and let it get really chilled, and then you can just pour yourself a drink from that if you'd rather not dilute it. But let's give it a taste. Oh my gosh. That is wonderfully smooth. No burning whatsoever. Very subtle bitterness. A little bit more bitter than this one. I actually will say this is a little bit more bitter than this one, but it's kind of to be expected. It's not the bitterness that you would attribute to a tequila. This is more of the bitterness that you would attribute to the aging process in oak barrels. It's a little bit woodier, right? And very enjoyable, very smooth. I think this is absolutely fantastic. Certainly a sipping tequila. As you breathe out, you get notes of vanilla and dark fruits. Usually comes with very aged alcohols, but very pleasant. No burn going down. Worth the money, in my opinion. If you guys are going to treat yourself, let's say that you don't necessarily like how forward in the woodiness, or some people can compare it to like a battery acid that you would find in certain whiskeys. This one, very mellow and sweet because it is a tequila. I think it's fantastic. Certainly one worth trying. Try it yourselves. Mix it in different cocktails. Let me know what you guys think. Try these different alcohols out. They're a little bit pricier, but try tequila out in general. Throw it in some cocktails, have some margaritas, send me some pictures. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think I should make with these particular types of alcohols. I would love to make cocktails with any one of these. Like I said, I've already made some with some Joven style tequila, but that is all of the tequilas that I have. So, for my tequila lovers, remember, history is better with a drink.